What's going on, guys? It's Shadow bringing you guys the last video or the last match of Sully's Abode Locals. Ended up facing my buddy Java Bomb Jeremy. He's using Doflamingo, which is honestly probably one of the worst matchups for Purple Black Luffy. And he also won Dice Roll, so he chose to go first. Obviously, Dofi wants to go first to set up, preferably, a Perona, if not a Buggy, but ends up finding a Sengoku, which, could potentially find you a Teach, which is the 2-drop Teach to activate main, put a card at the top of your deck, give 2 res to Don to your leader, so, there's a chance that he grabs a Teach, which he does, ends up grabbing Jinbei, which is just as good if he has Teach in hand for a turn 2 play. I just Don and pass, so it's his turn. Here he ends up just swinging 7 and using his leader ability, just taking a prayer, and ends up hitting a boa, which will allow him to stack the top 3 either at the top or the bottom of his life. And he chooses the top, and it adds the extra Don to his leader, making it an 8k swing. I cannot get out of that, so I take it. End up playing Zoro. Zoro will ramp Don -2 ramp inactive, and then leader will see the Don -2 ramp inactive, ramp arrested, and I just attach all 3, swing at the boa as you see. Ends up clearing it because he would have to give me 2 cards to save the boa. So lucky for me, I'm able to clear the board as it is being played out so far. If not, if Dofi is allowed to keep the board, it's just going to be a terrible time for me. So 5 Don, we do know that he has a Jinbei in his hand, and I'm expecting a Jinbei to anything else in the deck. And then here you see him attach 8 and do a leader swing, and he will use leader ability to use the Gecko, or play out a Gecko, which allows him to grab a Warlord or Thriller Bark from the trash that's not Gecko, and ends up grabbing the boa. And after that, uses the Sengoku, and he finds another Jinbei. So now we know he has 2 Jinbei in hand with the boa. If possible, going wide would have been the better option, but when I asked him at the end of the round, he did tell me that he had nothing to go with the Jinbei. He just had other Jinbeis in hand, which really good for me to hear, beneficial for me, which is how I was able to kind of keep it pushing. So you see I do use Top Knot, which Don -2, bottom deck of 4 cost or less, which I am getting rid of the Gecko to the bottom of the deck, and leader will ramp me back and active and arrested. So I swing 5 at his leader. I believe he might take this hit, which yep, he does take the hit, and I'm gonna swing 5 with my leader again, and this time I believe he will counter out of this last swing. Contemplating on what to do exactly, but looks like here's the game plan. You do see the leader swing go. He gives me a 1k, which is the Teach, and I play out the 6 cost Sanji, which is a blocker, so it's a 6/6. And if I did have 2 or less Don than my opponent, it would have allowed me to play it out for 3, half the cost. So seeing the Teach honestly should have been utilized as early as possible. You do see he does do Gravity Blade there to bottom deck my blocker and my Zoro, swinging just 5 at my leader. I do counter out. If he had the Teach in his hand, playing out the Teach early would have been very beneficial. I would have used Top Knot to honestly get rid of it, because you can get so much value from the Teach. But even then, after that, on my turn, I'm going to play out the Secret Rush Luffy, which Don -2 will allow me to draw a card and give it Rush, and then gain an active Don back and arrested off leader. Very repetitive, but obviously that is what the leader does. I'm deciding to swing for 6, and he gives me a 2k, swing with the Luffy. He ends up taking that. So now I have the top end established. The only way he's going to get rid of the Luffy is if he red rocks it, or decides to slap all the Don and swing big at the Luffy. Other than that, I believe he is currently at 8 Don. No, it looks like 7. No, he should be at 9 Don since he just played Gravity Blade last turn. So starts off with the Jinbei to Boa, and Boa will rearrange the top 3. and add a Restodon to his leader or whatever character he wanted to on the board. At this point, he is now going wide, which is the scary part. Being able to go wide, and if I'm not able to address all the bodies, is a bad situation for me. Also, I do have a very big hand. Putting would have been very phenomenal, very great for him to play on me. Because I do have a lot of removal in hand that can be very beneficial for me, but looks like unfortunately he does not have a pudding. So he does attach the Restodon to his leader. And I thought he was going to swing big, but he's going to opt to play another Jimbei and I believe to a Weevil here, which will allow him to draw. So, yep, so the Weevil hits the board. He will draw, places it over the Sengoku. And he has one Don left, which he will swing 7. Here I give him 3k, a Frankie, and a Black Mirror. This is exactly what Dofy wants to do. Now, if he was able to do this early in the game, he would have been in a way better spot. So I start to turn off by playing a Sanji, 5-cost Sanji, which will pop the Boa. And then I use the Gum Gum Lightning, which Don -2, KO is 6k or less. So leader will also see it and get the Don back. I essentially had the removal needed. Sanji pops off because I do have the 9-cost Luffy on the field. And then the one-of card that I have in the deck came in clutch right there to KO the Weevil. And then swing 7 with lead and 10 with the Luffy. Both hits connect. And I leave 2 Don up. So essentially, I leave it to the point where my opponent has to go for lethal or essentially block her up as much as possible. If not, game is pretty much secured. As far as counter, I'm not sitting very good. I have 2 Kaidos in hand, a Gum Gum Giant, and a Frankie. Obviously, Gum Gum Giant will allow me to pitch one of the bricks to draw 2 cards, but you're never guaranteed to find exactly what you need, which is why I left 2 Don up in case I find another Gum Gum Giant. So he starts off with 7. I decide to take the swing first to see what other counter cards I can get. But not only that, but to kind of bait him in into continuing to swing at my leader. And I believe I drew into another brick. And here he swings 7. And this is where I contemplate whether to do the Gum Gum Giant or not. Where if I was playing to be more safe, right here would have been the time to do it. You're going to see I'm going to take a gamble and I'm going to take the life. And I do this to bait my opponent into trying to go all in with all the Don. And honestly, this would have been the play to do it, to go that wide. Because Sengoku's a 2 at best. He could have attached 3, 4. No, he needed to at least swing 7, 7. And that's to potentially even see what else I get out of the Gum Gum Giant. 11k with his leader would have been the best option because I have the Gum Gum Giant to give me 4, and I believe I have exactly 3 1ks to get me to exactly 11, and the gamble all pays off on the Giant, whether I get at least 1 more K in counter. There has been times where I have drawn nothing but bricks off a Gum Gum Giant, so you do see he opts to do Jimbei to Boa, and Boa will rearrange the stack again and give a Restodon to his leader. This again shows you he's had 3 Jimbeis now, so potentially he started off with a lot of the Jimbeis and unable to play Jimbei to Jimbei since it does not allow him to. But you do see here he decides to swing 7 at my lead, leaving 1 Don up to do the leader ability to start ensuring that he has the bodies to go for game next turn. So I do pitch the Giant, pitching a Kaido, and I draw 2. I draw Kaido into another Black Mirror, so my gamble would have paid off, but again, 2 cards in hand, one of them was a brick, one of them wasn't, so it's just a huge gamble potentially getting both bricks or both counter cards. And then here I'm deciding on what to do. I believe I might have a Sanji. I don't remember exactly what I had in hand, other than the 9-drop Kaido. And you see me contemplating here, but ultimately I am just going to do the 9-drop Kaido to pop the Boa. Leader will ramp the active Don back, and from there I believe I'm just going to swing 5, 7, and I leave the extra Don in case I need to go 10, 11. But I will get the game here. If you guys like the content, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment down below what you guys thought of the match, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.